Hey, hello everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and welcome to Hangout number 81. And why is my head? Wait a minute, I gotta figure this out. Where's my head falling off the screen? Anyway, welcome to 81. I have a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I really do, way more than I probably should plan for a show. So I've already said hello to everybody in the chat room. So welcome everybody again who is in the chat room, because let me just get going with the stuff I've got to get going with, because there's so many things. And before I do, I just want to mention, if you'd like to be in the chat room, please join Patreon. The link is below. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. And here we go. All right. So, yes, let's start with this. I just got to start with this. And one of you sent this over to me, and I thank you. I thank you for that, because sometimes you are my conduit for things in the news that I do not see. So I'm always happy when you send me things and say, hey, check this out. Yeah, I checked this out. So we're going to go to Madeleine McCann news up front, because there's a few things I want to say. And the most important one, Madeleine McCann, in case you don't remember, she was a little girl that went missing in Portugal. And this guy, Christian Bruckner, is the German's suspect, like the only, quote, real suspect out there at the moment. And the German prosecutor, he's been going on for one heck of a long time about it's this guy. But he's never produced any evidence that it's this guy. Suppose he talked to some people and they had some suspicions, or he said something, but he has, in my opinion, zero evidence. He's never had any evidence this is the guy. Is he a creepo? Sure. Was he in Praia da Luz in Portugal around the time of Madeleine McCann? Sure. But that doesn't change the facts of the case. The facts of the case do not support an abduction. So if there's no abduction, there is no suspect. There's a suspect, but not an abductor suspect like Christian Bruckner, who is a creepy dude. But they went ahead and they dug up everything. They dug up some shed he had, and they never found a thing. So they've got no physical evidence. They got some little claims here and there. People might have said this and that. They have him in the area, like he lived there. You're not guilty of something because you live in the area. You could be a creepo. Doesn't mean you did anything. You just lived in the area. So this came out on March 4th. And I thought this was interesting because it was March 4th, 2023. I just want to say, what the hell? Guys, you are so freaking lucky you don't have to wear bras, because these things are freaking annoying. So I got these little, let me just show you the real reality of the world. So I got these little sticky things. You put them on so this will stay there, only it doesn't work. and like all of a sudden you're like, okay, that was TMI. Anyway, let's go ahead. Jesus Christ almighty. Go away thing. Life is frustrating on YouTube. Okay, anyway. It is. I mean, it's like, for God's sakes. I mean, I put the sticky things on. Okay, anyway. Live YouTube. And Pat Brown's problems on YouTube. You thought they were just technical. Well, this is technical too. It's clothing issues. And, when you do a major television show, they do your makeup, they do your hair, they fix all your clothes. They'll like pin the crap out. Oh, I should have pinned the crap out of the back of this. They pin the back so that things don't move. Yeah. They do all that. God almighty. Anyway, all right. Let's get back to the topic. Yes, I digress. All right, I digress a lot. I like digressing. Okay, Madeleine McCann. Police admit suspect Christian Bruckner won't be charged this year. Say what? This is March. We're not talking. I looked at this article to make sure they weren't talking about November of 2022. I could understand they say he wouldn't be charged this year if they were at the end of 2022 and they had only a few weeks to work with. It's March of 2023, and they're saying he's not going to be charged this year. Well, okay, at least 9 months are left. You are actually saying he's not going to be charged in the next 9 months. You know what that means to me? You ain't got jack. That's what it means to me. You've never had Jack, but now you're admitting essentially you don't have anything. Let me read you a little bit of the article. German prosecutors say they will not charge suspect Christian Bruckner over Madeleine McCann's disappearance this year as the investigation continues. Well, how much more can you investigate? You dug up everything. You've talked to everybody. No DNA, no photos, no Madeleine clothes. You got nothing. Where do you think you're going to get something? Are they 9 months more of trying to find out where her body might be? Because we're going to get Christian to say where he buried her. Yeah, okay. All right. So Hans Christian Walters, probably the worst prosecutor I've ever run into. This is the German prosecutor, and he's an embarrassment to prosecutors everywhere, because you don't go public and say this is the guy when you haven't got anything to support your claim. And that's what he's done. And he keeps having to backtrack and has to admit things over and over again. Yeah, well, I don't really have that. And that's not really. Guy, shut up. And why is he doing this? But he's confident. He insists he's confident. Authorities would have enough to indict the German pedophile next year. Next year. But we need 9 more months to get something on the dude, on Madeleine McCann. Okay, his comments follow reports. Prosecutors have admitted to his friends and associates that they were struggling to get enough evidence against him while interviewing them in a bid to crack the case. Well, you've already talked to every one of his friends. Oh my God, you must have. Those poor friends. They're tired that they were ever friends of this Bruckner dude. They're like, look, I knew him. I've told you everything. What the hell more do you want? You want me to say I helped dig Madeleine's grave? Is that where you're going? I have to tell him where my friend buried the body. I have to know that. I have to have been an accessory. Okay. That's essentially what he's at. Mr. Walters told respected Portuguese Daily Expresso. I don't know why they have to be the respected Portuguese Daily Expresso. The investigation is ongoing, but it's going to take a lot longer. How much? Maybe a decade, maybe 2. Perhaps we won't finish this year. Mm-hmm. He declined to explain the delays in bringing the case to court, despite German prosecutors identifying Bruckner in June of 2020. It's been 3 years. Now we're in the 3rd year as the man responsible for Madeleine's kidnap and murder. Telling Espresso he didn't want to share the results or the current state of the investigation. You just did. You said your investigation has failed dismally. You haven't got enough on him. Yep. Matter of fact, you haven't got anything on him. And that's where things are going. Mr. Walters has repeatedly insisted he believes they have the right man, despite growing concern about the failure so far to charge him over the British youngster's May 2007 disappearance and increasing fears he may never stand trial. Yeah, people are suspicious of you because they think you're full of crap. He told Portuguese journalist Sandra I can't pronounce her name, Felgueiras, during an interview last May, we're convinced he is the murderer of Madeleine McCann. Well, I've been convinced of things too. I just don't go, I don't tell the public that it's the guy when I don't evidence. If I were a prosecutor, I mean, I could talk crap as on YouTube, but you're the prosecutor. You can't do that. We have one suspicious person, and this is Christian B. I have 2 suspicious people, and they're not Christian B. All right. Now, back in 2021, the prosecutor said, we have strong evidence against Bruckner and hope to update soon. That's 2 years ago. The strong evidence didn't pan out to be anything. So anyway, the creepo's in prison. He's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's just pitiful. It's just pitiful. It really is. I want to check on your comments here because it's just unbelievable. Let's see. Pat's chat is like being at a drunken hen's night. No. The men are welcome here. What? Okay. I want your comments. What do you think? What do you think of the news that it's going to take another year? Fairy Princess says, I briefly revisited your program on McCann. Those parents are clearly lying about what happened that night, and the German creeper is a convenient scapegoat. Thank you. I should put again the link to my McCann video. There's so many absolute pieces of evidence that point not toward an abductor, shall we say. Baloney. Yeah, well, baloney might be the correct thing. And, it's one thing on YouTube when you hear people talking trash, but when a prosecutor of a country talks trash, that's pretty sad. Well, he has not anything. Now, if he might suspect Christian Bruckner for whatever reasons he suspects him, but there are many cases where you can suspect lots of people, and it's not them, because if you look at any area, there's always creepy people everywhere, and you're like, oh, it could be him. Oh my, it could be him. It could be him. It could be that doesn't mean it's them. So you have to be very careful that at the end of it, when you're going to go and say somebody, you're absolutely sure somebody's it, especially when you're a prosecutor or the main detective on the case, that you've got something. Now, of course, Christian Bruckner is not a regular citizen. They would be a little more cautious with a citizen who's out there free, doesn't have a criminal record. But Christian Bruckner is already a creepo. And so they can say anything they want against that dude because nobody cares. Nobody likes him. He is what he is. I wouldn't mind if he stayed in prison the rest of his life. I don't care. But so he can say anything he wants about Christian Bruckner. He's not going to have a lot of, flack from the public. Like, you're accusing this innocent man because he's already obviously a rapist. But professionally, it's wrong to go and say, somebody did it in 3 years. You can't provide a shred of evidence. That's embarrassing. I mean, I think he should be taken out of the job. I think they need to replace him with somebody else. And if that somebody else comes in and doesn't see what this guy sees and looks at everything and says, look, the prosecutor had that was the way he looked at it, but I see nothing. I think the guy needs to get out of the public eye because he's terrible. Even in interviews, he's terrible. Shut up and go away and let somebody else take his place. And if somebody else has something he can work with, fine. But this guy, not at all. I don't understand why you would come out publicly as a prosecutor saying that. I don't know either. That's the entire problem with the whole case, as far as the Germans go, is that I don't know. This guy may just want to solve the case. Maybe he really thinks the guy did it. He may truly believe it. But truly believing it and having proof, he should know are two different things. I have given off in my analysis and I say the evidence supports this, in my opinion, but it may not be enough to go to court, so on and so forth. But if I were a prosecutor, I'd keep my mouth shut until I had something. I would absolutely do that. Let's say, maybe he's another Sheriff Ziggy, and that may be true. In case you don't understand what we're talking about here, I just did a show on the David Hartley murder in Mexico on Falcon Lake, and his wife Tiffany had quite a fantastical rendition of what happened. And Sheriff Ziggy is on the American side. He's the sheriff that was on the case on the American side, although the actual case belonged to Mexico because it supposedly happened in Mexico. But Sheriff Ziggy had a whole bunch of stuff to say. And I have no idea where he got his information or if any of the information is valid, but he did love to talk and he loved to solve the case, whether it was true or not. So yeah, sometimes that does happen, especially when you can get a lot of publicity for it, but you're not forced to actually, provide the evidence. So that's very useful. So you get, let me see what you said here. The 15 minutes, he's been out there. You get 15 minutes and 15 minutes and 15 minutes. It's time that he gives up the 15 minutes and goes for something called evidence. That's my opinion on him. Now, just because I have to, on the fake Maddie thing, I do have to because it's pretty funny. So anyway, the fake Maddie. Let me find the fake Maddie thing. Okay, the first thing that came out is that there's an organization. They're called. Let me see what the organization's name is. The organization is. Hold on a second. Let me find it. So Julie Julia, I'm not going to give her last name, most likely not Madeleine McCann, facial analysis concludes. So, Polish woman who became an internet sensation only because of the crappy media we have out here, after claiming to be missing British girl Madeleine McCann, is most likely not the girl who was abducted in 2007. A facial recognition analysis concluded. Supposedly they ran the whole thing, and they said it's practically impossible for the young Pole to be Maddie. Well, I'm going to say anybody who had two eyes knew from the beginning it was impossible that Julia was Maddie. So we actually didn't need the facial recognition, but hey, thank you for saying so, because I can at least knock that out of the park. So, so Julia's having these issues now, Julia. She's like, okay. She's now saying, okay, if I'm not Maddie, I could be the Swiss girl, which that story is even stupider. So I'm not going to get into it. I've already talked about that. But she now, well, it's just like, I always say that you have to understand psychopathy. And I'm not saying Julia is a psychopath. And I'm not saying Fia, her, whatever she is, who is her handler now. I'm not saying she's one. But I want to tell you how a psychopath works. When they fail one game, they just jump to a new game. And then they jump to a new game. And they jump to a new game. So while you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know, what this doesn't work out for, how's that going to, well, she was at the Maddie thing. And then when it started looking bad, she jumped to the Swiss thing. Fia, her handler, / psychic / fake private investigator / fake everything, then says, oh yeah, she might not be Maddie, but she could be the Swiss girl. And I believe totally that she was kidnapped when she was a young child and by some sex ring with no proof. And now they're going to probably fail on that. So now the new story is, oh my God, poor girl. She is now, but now that all this is going on, she's in California, mind you, and she's meeting famous people, and she's having a great time with Fia. But now it turns out Fia says, oh my God, no, she might be battling cancer. She's awaiting test results over the fear she has leukemia. We're still waiting on the results of the DNA testing that will show exactly what Julia's ethnic background is. Polish. And what country she and her true family are from. Poland. These kind of tests are very accurate. But, of course, depending on the result, we'll continue our investigation to see if she's Madeleine or another missing person. But now the focus is on Julia as a person, not Madeleine, because we care so much about Julia, who we don't know, and it clearly is a big fat liar and fake, but we care about her more than our own children, more than our sisters and brothers, more than our spouses, more than our grandparents, more than our friends and the children in our neighborhood. We just care about Julia. All right. She had a neglected childhood and suffered much abuse. There's no proof of that. That is what Julia says, because as far as I'm concerned, she's a pathological liar. Her health is very poor, maybe because she eats like a pig, because she's kind of too fat for the show she's doing. She's out there singing, and she's like obviously obese. Hey, maybe you should eat better. All right. She has bad asthma and suffers a lot of pain in her bones, maybe from her weight. All right. She is booked. I don't mean to laugh at being overweight, because I am right now. And let me tell you, I'm not happy about it. And it's my fault because I eat like a pig. Okay, so anyway, her health is very poor and she has bad asthma. And she said, okay, I did that already. She is booked for a CT, an MRI scan, because of the pain in her bones. Her blood work is also abnormal. So my doctor here in the U.S., abnormal, where'd they get that one from? So my doctor here in the U.S. is investigating whether she could have leukemia, and we're waiting the results of that. And if she needs any treatment, we will make sure she gets it. So see, that's the new game. We have Maddie. Now we have the Swiss girl. Now we have, we'll just care about Julia herself, and now she's got leukemia. This is how scammers play the game. And if you are, by the way, involved with a scammer, which could be a spouse, for example, in an abusive relationship, some psychopath that you're married to, what they will do is change the game on you. As soon as something doesn't work, they'll just change to a new game. And that you have to be very aware of, because that's why people end up falling for things, one thing after another, because they don't understand that these people will change up the story on a dime. When something doesn't work, they'll just move on. And they'll try to convince you of something else. And if you've got a soft heart, or you're trying to keep your head above water, you're trying to save your whatever, your marriage, your family, your home, often you'll fall for the new thing, whatever the new thing is. And this is a good example of it. That's why I wanted to bring it up today. Let me check your comments before I go into the next story. What trauma? What trauma? We have no idea there was any trauma whatsoever. That's Julia's statement. We have not a shred of proof that she was lived through any trauma. Yeah. Oh, she's con man, Alex Murdaugh. Yeah, that's right. And there is a sucker born every minute. Yep. That's for sure. Munchausen much. I think it's Munchausen, but there's an interesting difference between Julia, who I think is more Munchausen, but then you've got Thea Johansson, who is her handler now and her publicist. She's more of a very clever con artist, and she'll find things to manipulate the story because she's got contacts to the press, and she can do things like that. Oh, that was sarcasm. Well, it's always hard to read sarcasm, but I just want to make sure people understand. Thank you, Loretta. And to be honest, to be fair, people who suffer, because people jump on me for this. Well, people who have been through horrible abuse do eat too much, and this. Yes, they do. If you've been through real abuse, God bless you. Some of the stories I have heard, let me tell you, I have heard them. So it's not like I'm not aware. Some people have been through like horrific abuse in their life, whether it be abandonment, whether it be physical abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be manipulation by a psychopathic parent. I mean, they've been through it. And do you eat under duress? Yes. I mean, I blew up over COVID. I didn't handle it well. And yeah, I thought the whole COVID situation, the whole shutdown was abusive. Lost everything that I did on a daily basis. I lost one of my jobs. I couldn't do any exercises. I know table tennis, pickleball, dance. I lost all of that at the same time, like everybody else did. And so, did I handle it well? No. If one thing I'm going to do is, it will be overeat. And I've never been hugely fat in my life. I've always been 10 or 20 over, but now I'm like way past 10 or 20 over, and I'm pissed. But hey, I did do it to myself. But was I under stress? Was I under duress? Yes. And so when you are under severe duress and you've suffered a lot of abuse, yes, food is one way to give yourself instantaneous pleasure. And also sometimes it's a protective thing where you eat a lot and then you get heavy, and then anybody who you think is sexually interested in you maybe goes away. And so there's a whole thing on that. If Julia wasn't a liar, if I didn't know she was exaggerating things, if I didn't believe that her family had tried to get her help over and over again, she could have been abused. I'm not saying she couldn't have been, but it's hard to believe anything she says now. And my point always is, if you want people to believe you, don't be a big fat liar about a bunch of things. Then they won't believe the other things. So, it's on you. If you're a liar, don't expect people to believe anything you say from that moment on. So, yeah. You too, Kelly? Oh, my God. I have to date by Zoom. Yeah, the date by Zoom. No. My friend who, okay, the friend I'm dating by Zoom just, it's not even, I'm not dating. Anyway, I won't get my total personal life, but he lives 3.5 hours away on a regular basis. He comes back into town. And so we do see each other when he's here. So he already knows I'm fat. But it is really nice on Zoom, because just like YouTube, it's like, I can keep it like at least here and you don't see the rest of me. So, But, yeah. Oh, wait a minute, that's funny. Wait a minute, I gotta check this out. Maybe I've subconsciously gained weight purposely so I can move spare bedroom. Hey, that's okay. You know, that's okay. A spare bedroom, a place of peace, your own place. You can read, keep the light on. Works really nice sometimes. All right, let me get on before I get we get carried away on this. What was I going to talk about next? Okay, I had something I was going to talk about next. Oh Lord, we have fun at Hangout. Hangout is a very laid back time, just to let you know. You know, we have fun here, and except okay, I want to talk about this because I think this is a horrific crime. I'm really pissed off about this. I truly am pissed off about this. Let me see if I can find my article on this. Because I actually Googled this because I was getting really annoyed because I felt like I was being harassed and abused, and I thought I was being profiled, and that really ticked me off. Okay, where did my thing go? Hold on a second. Hold on. I've got a lot of stuff open. Where is it? Where did it go? Oh man. No, I can't find it. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Happens every time I do something. I tell you, swear to God it does. Anyway, I'm going to show you the picture. This is the picture. Tell me if you do. Now, what happens is on Google, they have ads. They somehow seem to profile you at a certain age, whether you're married or not, what your business is, what your health should be. So I am a female, 67 years old. So what do I get for it? Constantly. Freaking every time I go to Google, that's what I get. I am so sick of seeing toe fungus and somebody scrubbing their toes with some goopy goo. I mean, it is disgusting. And I'm telling you, I'm looking up news stories, and on the freaking news stories, there's always toe fungus videos underneath them that are in my face. I'm like, I don't have toe fungus. I do not. Stop profiling me as a woman that has toe fungus. I mean, do people at 65-year-old females have toe fungus problems? I mean, really? I can't get rid of it. And this guy wrote on his article, he's like, because when I Googled it, he's like, why am I getting the toe fungus thing? So somebody else is having the same problems. And he was going nuts over it because he thought it was grotesque. And I agree. It's like, I've started like about a month ago, 2 months ago, I started getting every single site I pulled up had a toe fungus video, and they're rolling, so you can't not see it because they're like scrubbing away on those little toes, And on Twitter, I'm constantly targeted for Chinese hardcore porn video style. So I'm going down my Twitter feed, and all of a sudden I see some woman doing something that is 100% hardcore, and I'm like, I cannot even open my Twitter in front of my granddaughter because I get hardcore Chinese porn in there. Now, I'm gonna say, probably I'm not a purveyor of hardcore Chinese porn at any point in my life. I mean, why am I getting this? And I've asked other people and they say, I don't get it. I'm like, why me then? Why am I being profiled for Chinese hardcore porn in my Twitter feed? I mean, so do you all get something in your Twitter feed that you find offensive? You've been profiled to get something really creepy? I mean, oh my God, you get the earwax. Oh, I've seen that one too. The earwax. So I get more toes, but earwax remedy. Oh my God. Yeah. Look what you can do. And they have this thing like, it looks like they're drilling into your ear. It's disgusting. Now, Loretta, I don't get any porn, but then I don't watch porn. Pat. Now, Loretta. No. Especially not Chinese hardcore. The rest, I take the fifth. All right. Oh my God. Oh, adult diapers. I've never had an adult diaper once. So I think that might be amazing. Wonderful thought. I don't have any adult diapers yet. They seem to be sure I need a bigger penis. Oh, that's Florence. I actually used to get those a long, long time ago. They used to show up. I forgot what they showed up, but I used to get that one all the time. I think it was on my emails. And I've never seen that in the last, 10 years. So I guess I've moved on to you. Not her king. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Yeah. It sucks, Chinese porn and toe fungus. I don't know if they go together. I don't even like that image that they go together. Oh, God. Oh, you've had it. Sally says you've had it too. Yeah, it's like weird stuff. I mean, oh, you're 76 years old and haven't got toe fungus. You haven't gotten the toe fungus yet, or you haven't gotten the toe fungus video. Yeah, you have to worry. I mean, I don't know why these things show up and why we're profiled this way by the algorithms. I mean, I used to get a lot of put your life in order videos. I'm like, stop it. Kind of like, get, you're getting up to that age, so you better put your life in order. I don't see those right now, but, oh my God. So, but I think that's just the weirdest dang thing. I mean, freaky stuff, All right. That was one thing. And then I want to bring this up because I think it's a useful thing to bring up. Somebody wrote an article about popular podcasters and murder. And there are people who do not believe that murder should be entertainment. And there's actually a group called Murder is Not Entertainment. And I certainly half agree with them. So if you take a look at some of the top what they make, okay? That's very interesting here. Popular true crime shows are making millions, and this is absolutely true. Investigation Discovery, which used to be scientific, I believe, and historic, they launched Discovery Civilization in 1996. Became Times Discovery in 2002, but then it launched Investigation Discovery. That's where the money is. They're one of the top 20 channels now. My Favorite Murder is a podcast I've never heard of. Makes $15 million in 2019. $15 million. I guarantee you this is not that channel. I'm trying to eat. No, 15 million. Now, I don't know the particular, I don't know that podcast. I don't know what it's like. I just don't know. Bailey Sarian, who I do know, not personally, but I know her channel, the host of Murder, Mystery, and Makeup, has a net worth of $4.73 million. Do I think she does a good show? Well, she tells a story. She tells a murder story. And I don't have a great objection to her. I don't have objections to channels that just tell a story. I have objection to grifter channels, gossip channels, those kind of things. People profiling when they shouldn't be profiling, that kind of stuff. And people constantly putting out fake evidence or facts to get more people and do it on like every day. They got something new and they got these people addicted to the channel. I think she just does good shows on separate cases. Do I always agree? No, but people really like her show, and she does all her makeup. She starts with no makeup and ends up with makeup. I mean, it's obviously a popular thing she's a makeup artist. So what an odd combo, but it was one of those things that just turned out to be something people enjoyed. Then we've got Ashley Flowers. She does the producer of Morbid and Crime Junkie. She has a dozen more true crime podcasts, estimated worth of $3 million. That's in 2020. CrimeCon, which I will not participate in, launched in 2017. Some people pay $1,500 a ticket to attend the gathering of true crime TV and podcast hosts. So the question is, should we be making that much money off of people's miseries, murders that are horrifying, and but it's entertainment to a great many people. Let's face it, it's entertainment. It's always been entertainment to some extent. To the Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes, the mystery was entertainment. Now the question I always come down to is, and this is how I separate the things out, whether I'm comfortable with what's out there. The mystery of something, to understand it, which is what I hope that I do with my show, showing evidence, how we analyze, and I don't, do 50 shows to exploit something. That's why I do my show. Some people would say, well, you're still entertained. You're still being entertainment. And as a matter of fact, you laugh freaking too much during a show and you make a lot of fun. So what kind of seriousness is this? And you're disrespectful to the murder victims and their families. I accept a criticism, that one can have that, a feeling. I have a lot of respect for murder victims and their families, but yes, I do a show that is, off the cuff, I try to teach during the show, but yes, I do put humor in it because I just quite frankly can't live every day of my life doing depressing stuff and not have some sense of black humor perhaps, but yeah, it's there. Otherwise I wouldn't even do the show. I just couldn't even do it. So it's just not me. But I understand some people don't like my show for that reason and think it's wrong. Then there are shows. So all these different categories of shows. What do we accept? What don't we accept? And does every movie have to have somebody murdered in it? And do we have to have slasher movies and that kind of thing? And I personally hate Criminal Minds. I think it's garbage, and I don't like the way they show people being killed. So we all have our opinions on that, but it's just something I think that we, as a society, do need to look at and say, why does murder top all the news? And why do we have so many books on murder? Why do we have so many movies on murder? Is there something else we could do? And maybe we should spend a little less time on this. And so, I just think it's something worthwhile thinking about, even for myself. And I have thought about that. It's like, yeah. Yeah. And if you ask me how much stuff do I watch that's about murder, I can tell you almost nothing except for my work. I don't. The shows I watch I want to watch something. Well, I do watch Death in Paradise, but that's because, again, this is more of an Agatha Christie thing. The death is very short. It's the mystery I love. It's the camaraderie I love. And yes, I am watching the Beyond Paradise one, which is, I don't think as good, but I still enjoy it because of it's the style of it. It's peaceful and it's kind of sweet. And I like that. And I finished Hawaii Five-0, the original. I've gone through 12 seasons, and I'm so pissed because now I can't keep going because I love Hawaii Five-0, the original, not the newer garbage. But it's because it's a police procedural, and I like seeing how they think and figure things out. So that's the way I look at it. So now I want to go on to, I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's worthwhile. We think about it sometimes. I want to talk about this case, and it's a bit of a tricky case. These are toddler twins. Jenny, the mother of these toddler twins, Jenny Colazzo, she found her 18-month-old Lachlan and Lorelei at the bottom of the murky outdoor pool at their $561,000 home in Oklahoma City. I think it's kind of funny. A lot of people say they're trying to call it a mansion. It's a big house, but it's in Oklahoma City, so the prices are lower there. In our area, probably be $750,000 easy. So it's not a cheap house for the area, but it's not a massive mansion either. This is the mom with the two babies, and this is their family. They have 4 teens, and then they've got these 2 little babies. Okay, now I want to bring this up for a specific reason. Let me read you the story, the basic story first of all, so you can understand it, and then you'll see what my question is on it. Toddler twin brother and sister, age 18 months, both drowned in a murky outdoor pool of their family's Oklahoma mansion after great-grandma with Alzheimer's left back door open. Okay, now here's the pool in the back. This is the pool. This is the murky pool that the children were able to access when supposedly the claim is the great-grandmother with Alzheimer's left the door open and the 2 toddlers walked out and fell into that pool. And mother was at home. She's at home doing some kind of business out of her home. She was there, but apparently unaware that the 2 children had gone out the door into the pool. All right. So they drowned in the pool at their family's quote mansion. The mother made the horrifying discovery and was seen administering CPR by Oklahoma City firefighters as they arrived on the scene. She's a stay-at-home mother who runs a bow boutique, lives at the property with her grandmother, 6 children, and husband Sonny, 42, a marketing executive. A relative of the family claims that Jenny's grandmother, who has Alzheimer's, left the back door open, which allowed the twins to access the pool. They added, "Please play for the twin siblings and all of our family," and they have set up a GoFundMe to help the family with expenses following the death of the toddlers, and it has raised $5,000 of the $7,500 goals. It read, "These beautiful babies were taken from us too soon. Anything you can give to help with expenses would be greatly appreciated. We appreciate everybody's love and support. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said they were unsure exactly how long the toddlers were in the pool. Neighbors described witnessing a distraught Jenny get into the back of the EMS vehicle as the paramedics battled to save the toddlers. All right. Let's see. So right now, it's considered a tragedy. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts here? Thank you, Grandma Tap. Why wasn't it covered? It wasn't being used, obviously. Oh, Lord. Yes, and this is also true. The pool should have been fenced. Yeah, okay. Supposedly they've been there about a year. That's what I read. Now, you move into a house. You've got 3 vulnerable people concerning that pool. It's the toddlers and the Alzheimer grandmother, supposedly, who has Alzheimer's. You got 3 vulnerable people. Any one of them at any time could have gotten through an open door and fallen into that pool and died within seconds. There is no fence around the pool. There is no pool cover. It has been a year. You move into a house like that, and what should have happened in the very first, maybe even before you moved in, was at least get a bloody pool cover. Cover it up so that nobody can actually access the pool. It's not that expensive to get a pool cover. And yes, then as you put the pool cover on first, then put the fence around, or whatever you got to do. Drain the pool of all the water and still put the pool cover on, because if you're not going to use the thing in a year, why is it even there? Get the water out, because you're going to have to clean that crap anyway. Get the water out, put the pool cover on, make it inaccessible to anybody in that house, especially 2 toddlers and a grandmother who supposedly has Alzheimer's. So that's, all of you are saying the same thing. Now, here is my question on this. Anyone witnessed a murder? I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. Now here's the interesting problem with this. Was it an accident? Now there's people who are careless, extremely stupid, and maybe this is this family. Now there's a husband and a wife who can make decisions, and an entire year they did make the proper one: the cover, the fence, the draining of the pool, and that door could also have been locked to the point where nobody could unlock it, if that was your concern. If there was no other way into the backyard except through that area, you can put a lock on there that grandma can't open and nobody else can open. Because even your teenagers are never going to open the door at some moment, and the kids are going to go out. You got 4 teens in the house. They're not the brightest things either. So you didn't do an entire year, the most basic child-proofing thing I can possibly think of. Not the most basic. And you had so many choices, and you didn't do any of them. So now, where was mom when the toddlers were there? Where's she at? Who's watching the toddlers? What, the Alzheimer grandmother? If she really has Alzheimer's? If somebody has Alzheimer's, she cannot properly manage children. Where are you? That you didn't know the grandmother opened the door and the toddlers went out and drowned, and by the time you got there, it was too late. Where were you? Who's watching the Alzheimer grandmother too? I mean, what's going on here? So could she just have been a careless human being? Yes. But I want to point something else out to you. I'm not saying through this. I just got something weird happening here. Let me make sure my thing's working. I've got frozen. Is anybody else seeing me getting frozen? Suddenly I'm getting frozen here, and I don't know why. Okay. Hopefully it won't happen again. So what we have is, I'm looking around now just to see if anything else is going crazy. All right. Technical difficulties, not my fault. The problem with children and the murder of children, if somebody wants to murder a child, it is so incredibly easy. Babies can be suffocated and people won't suspect it's not SIDS. Children can be left in a hot car and somebody says, oh my God, I forgot they were in there when I was taking the groceries in. Children could fall in water. They fall in the pools. They fall in ponds. And the parent goes, oh my God, they just must have gotten out the door. No one likes to accuse a parent of killing their child. And if the parent was just foolish, neglectful, or a freak accident, no one wants the parent to be accused of anything more than they're already suffering, theoretically, the loss of those children. Well, if the loss of the children is just due to stupidity or carelessness or just a freak accident, of course. I mean, freak accidents do happen. Children, sometimes just some weird crap happens. Your child can just go wrap his neck you can turn away and he wraps his neck in a cord you didn't realize was hanging down from a curtain and the child hangs himself. That can happen. Anything can happen in seconds, and a parent can lose a child in tragic circumstances, which isn't because they're careless, but just because life, sometimes it's just freaky things happen. No, you don't want to accuse a parent of something when they're suffering and they've already lost their child and they're never going to get over it. Of course not. And then if they're careless and just do something stupid, they're still not necessarily bad people. They're just careless, foolish people. And their children have died because of their foolishness. And then what do? Do you accuse them of that? Do you make their lives even more miserable because you're careless idiots? Do you say that? But here's what I want to point out, which is an interesting problem. With adults who end up dead, there's usually an investigation that's reasonable. With children, a lot of times it's just assumed to be an accident. If a parent really does want to get rid of kids, they can do one of those simple things and say, oh my God, how horrible. And they can get away with it. So it's just interesting that Lindsay Clancy, the one who just killed her 3 children and clearly murdered them. Now her claim is a psychotic moment due to postpartum depression. But was it? Or is this another excuse? And again, when things happen under women's watch, we tend to think no mother would ever do this. So we give them the benefit of the doubt. And it's interesting to think how many children, not necessarily these children, have lost their lives to a woman who purposely killed their children, but got away with, a mother wouldn't do that. It must have been an accident. Mother wouldn't do that. It must have been she didn't mean it. It's carelessness, or she's got postpartum depression. There's always an excuse with women, not so much with men, interesting enough. And this grandmother, I feel really bad for the grandmother. The Alzheimer's grandmother left the door open. Blame Granny, And do we know that that's the truth? We don't at all that's the truth. So I'm not saying, again, this wasn't just a case of stupid carelessness and people who didn't do any of the right things to protect their toddler children and the grandmother. But it's interesting because this is why an awful lot of cases of actual homicide of children just get labeled accidental deaths, and the killer does get away with it. So it's just one of those things, just brought that to mind to me. So I just thought that was interesting. Just bugs me. Well, that's probably true, Linda points out. I retired from an insurance company as a liabilities claims adjusters. I've learned many things during my career. The absolute stupidity of people is scary. Hey, and then that is true. That is true. So am I back in step with everything? By the way, because I do know there was a glitch. Am I back to normal? Let me know. Because were both parents home or just the mother? As far as I know, it's the mother and the grandmother. Oh, that's back to normal? Okay, good. It's temporary. Glitch thing. I am plugged into the internet, so it's one of those, I have no idea why that happens, and it's so frustrating. Okay, back in step. Okay. It's it annoys the heck out of me. Let's see. Yeah, Mary Beth Tinning, she killed a whole bunch of children, 8 or 9 at least, and they just labeled it as SIDS. And I think the one that got her was when the adopted child died of SIDS too. Then they thought maybe it's not genetic. So she got away with it. Again, it's blaming somebody who's a parent is like a horrifying thing to ever have to do. And but I just wish, fairy princess, you're back. Normal is subjective. I could agree with that. I definitely could agree with that. Well, no, in this case, these were clear murders. Those were clear murders, but it's the ones that could be. You're not supposed to share your wine with the internet. There is no wine here at all. I'm wine free tonight. I'm gas station cinnamon, Fireball cinnamon whiskey free, and tequila free. Oh my God. I'm having no fun at all. No. But yeah, but it's just interesting. The sad thing is people are aware that there's ways to get rid of a child and make it look like an accident. And if they can't prove it isn't an accident, because, I mean, they can leave a kid in a hot car. I mean, you can forget your kid is there. You can do it. I believe that entirely. You could be bringing in, you could have the other kids, you're bringing in, you're going to go back out and get the little one. And then you get distracted and you think that you already brought the little one in or whatever. And then you go, oh my God, 30 minutes later, the kid's already dead. It can happen by accident, but it also can happen on purpose. But how do you prove the difference between the two? So little ones can, they could really be, they're really at the mercy of adults. They really are, either through their stupidity, the adults, not the kid, and just because you might have a homicidal parent and the kid has nothing they can do about it. It's really, really, really frightening. So anyway, I want to talk about this case this one. This is a bizarre case, which just came out. This dentist, that's the guy in the shirt. He's happy. He's always happy. Has this great video on how come to our clinic. He's just the nicest guy. Want to make everybody happy. He's just a sweetheart, except they just poisoned his wife, the woman in yellow, just poisoned her and killed her because he wanted to hook up with his new mistress. And so he's from Colorado. He's a Colorado dentist. I'm going to read from the Daily Mail. And some of you, I do point out that I rarely ever do TV interviews anymore. And yes, I did get a copy from the Daily contact from the Daily Mail saying they wanted to get me to break down the psychology behind these alleged crimes. And I told them no. Anyway, I'd rather do it with you, because at least I can say what I'm going to say and it's not going to be edited. And they weren't going to pay me anyway. Okay, porn addict, but I will still confess, I looked over all the articles and still Daily Mail comes out as a top article, believe it or not. I mean, I know a lot of people hate the Daily Mail and call it the Daily Fail, and they have their issues, believe you me, but they do pretty good crime stuff as far as details go. So porn addict dentist, well, he told his wife he was a porn addict. Arrested for murdering his wife and mom of 6 with poison-laced protein shakes. All right. So apparently he had this lover, and she's in the hospital. He poisons her, so now she's in the hospital. She's in the hospital. Now check out these emails, and this is the only one that had the emails. And I thought the emails were hysterical. Now look at this email. Oh, of course. Let's see. Don't forget this I think was before. You have the caffeinated Crystal Light if you want it, or you can make some fresh with ice. I can make some and bring it to you. No, it's okay. I have a sandwich. My mouth tastes like medicine. Okay. Doc signed off. Oh, she's in the hospital here. Oh, she says, people, people can come to get me, but I just like you the best. Thanks. I like you too. Well, doesn't it sound like they have a grand relationship? You would think. But how did she end up in the hospital to begin with? All right. According to records, Angela started feeling unwell after drinking a shake her husband made for her on March 6th. Over the next 10 days, she visited the hospital 3 times, complaining of nausea and dizziness, but doctors couldn't determine what is causing her illness. Now, mind you, most people think, and I used to think this, that if you come in and you feel like crap and they take some tests, do some tests, that they will identify what your problem is. That is not true. They have to actually, the test has to be focused on specific things. If they don't focus on it, like if they don't say, maybe it's strychnine, and they don't look for strychnine, they're not going to find strychnine. So that's the problem with these tests, that you would just assume they're going to figure it out. But if they don't suspect that you've been poisoned, they may not do every test in the book. They're just going to look for some normal things. Well, apparently they didn't figure out what was wrong with it. So she complained about this, that she was sick. On March 15th, her brother took her to the hospital again. She had a seizure soon afterwards and lost brain function. Meanwhile, Craig's mistress, that's the husband's mistress, an orthodontist in Texas, flew to Colorado to be with him between March 8th and March 10th while his wife was in the hospital. Isn't that sweet? Now he's charged with premeditated murder. All right. Disturbing text messages contained within his arrest affidavit revealed how he once drugged his wife before. This is what's amazing. And that she was suspicious of him as her health deteriorated. Let's see. That drink you gave me was weird. Good to know I won't drink one. It wasn't bad necessarily. It just had a kind of faint, subtle, chalky aftertaste. Have you eaten anything? I had the protein shake and magnesium made me feel weird. Are you nauseous? No, I feel drugged. Given our history, I know that must be triggering. Just for the record, I didn't drug you. I am super worried, though. You really looked pale before I left, like in your lips even. Oh. Now, this guy admitted to he had porn. He admitted to her he had cheated on her God knows how many times. And she was suspicious he had poisoned her. But she still lets him give her another drink. Women, men, if you're with someone you do not actually trust, get out of there. You cannot trust them. What the heck? You don't trust them, yet you let them stay and you stay with them and you let them do things that could get you killed. It makes no sense to me at all, but this is what people do. And so this woman stayed with her. According to, now get this one, prosecutors allege that Craig first gave his wife the poison on March 6th in a shake he mixed before their workout. According to the charging documents, Craig had researched poison on his office computer. Remember what I always say? People do Google searches just thinking about things, not planning to do it yet, but thinking about things. And then when they decide to do it, they forget about the Google history. He did Google searches. Search terms included, how many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human? Is arsenic detectable in autopsy? Top 5 undetectable poisons that show no signs of foul play. How to make poison. The top 10 deadliest plants, and they can kill you too. Okay, so your husband's a cheat. He says he's addicted to porn, and you're feeling sick around him. Don't stay with the guy. When Angela Craig began complaining of feeling ill, her husband expressed concern and sent repeated declarations of love. And he did. He's like overly love, love, love. And sent her, he apologized. At one point, he apologized for not bringing her flowers in the hospital. And he's looking forward to her returning home and to the marital bed. Listen to what he says. I love you. It was so nice hanging out with you and watching a show and snuggling. You can't wait for her to come home and make love. I don't know. I'm always suspicious. Guy, been married. You have married a long time. You have 6 kids. He cheats on you, and he has to tell you he wants to make love to you. That's kind of creepy, in my opinion. When you're sick. Okay, so then when she's in the hospital, her symptoms get worse, and he says, "Man, baby, you got to stop scaring me out like this. I love you so much, and I'm not used to all this excitement." She's scaring him. Yeah, sure. Okay. At the same time, of course, the mistress was in. He texts her, I wish I could have stayed longer. I love you and I'm so glad you seem to be doing better. Yeah, I just woke up dreaming about making love to you. I love you and want you. The woman's sick. She's nauseous. She's in the hospital. This is creepy, man. As she's discharged, he tells her, I can't wait to have you home in my bed tomorrow. She says she needs to stop vomiting before she can think about sex. You think? Oh, my God. Then she returns home on March 14th. She comes home. Meanwhile, while she's not there yet, she comes home on the 14th. But on the 13th, he orders more poison. A delivery of cyanide is dispatched on March 13th. On the 14th, she returns home and accused her husband trying to poison her. He told a confidant. She's telling somebody who works with, hey, my wife thinks she'll poison you. Well, yeah. James told her when Angela was discharged, she made accusations that James had poisoned her. Angela said something to James along the lines, there are poisons they don't treat for, right? That's just what I told you. Back home, her condition dramatically worsened because she keeps drinking and eating the crap he puts on a plate. You need tasters, or make him taste the crap first. And she was readmitted on March 15th, suffering a seizure and never regaining consciousness. So then she died. Yep, she died. The affidavit said he planned to end his wife's life by searching for ways to kill her, undetected, to start a new life with his lover. Again, we have a guy who doesn't know how to divorce somebody for whatever reasons. So Craig's second package arrived at work, and the employee opened the box. She found a biohazard sticker and a canister marked potassium cyanide. She Googled the chemical compound and realized the symptoms of cyanide poisoning were similar to the symptoms Angela was experiencing. When the employee heard Angela had been readmitted to the hospital, she told Greg's business partner about her shock discovery. He then told the nurse during a visit checkup on her, and the nurse called the police. Thank God for these people, at least informing the police. And then the death was investigated by the Major Crimes Homicide Unit, and they determined she was poisoned. Unbelievable. Craig told investigators that his wife had intentionally overdosed on opioids since asking for a divorce since December of 2022. Yeah, now he's blaming it on her. Police raided his business and home, seizing protein powders, shakers, a computer tablet, phones, 2 Ziploc packs with powdery substances. So, he got a $13 order, a $13 Amazon order for arsenic metal, crystalline metalloid, 10 grams for element collection. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But he claimed he was happily married. Yes. Because they have 6 children. They all enjoy the outdoors, especially camping, snowboarding, fishing, hiking, rock climbing, and mountain biking, and visiting theme parks. That's great. And also, he volunteered with Weekend Help, an anti-bullying program sponsored by the Denver Police Department. Ain't he sweet? And you wonder, you got 6 children. You killed their mother by poisoning. What a horrible human being. A psychopath. And here's the thing. There's no way in God's earth he wasn't acting like a psychopath through the entire marriage with her and with the children. The sad part is people need to learn what a psychopath behaves like so they can separate that. You got over here, okay, it's a little selfishness, a little normalness, maybe some narcissism. Over here, psychopath. Anybody who does what he does, 100% psychopath. And yes, he's super friendly and he's learned how to put on a happy face and he's a dentist and and he helps his patients. Maybe we'll find out more about his patients. But apparently his wife did know. She even thought he poisoned her. And you get the hell out of there. But she probably felt guilty for accusing him of that. So she stayed and he probably said, oh, come on, honey, I'm not poisoning you. And handed her the glass and she drank it anyway. So I'd say, you're not poisoning me. You drink the damn glass. Let me see how you come out. That's what I would have said. But sad. Really sad situation. Really sad. Let me just check out a few things you might say here. And this is always the question, Leslie. Narcissist. Why divorce her? Just kill her. He can trash her after death. Get life insurance, sympathy, and a start over. Yeah, basically that's what the problem. People who are highly narcissistic or psychopathic have is that divorce is a pain in the ass, and it is a pain in the ass to healthy human beings too, mentally healthy human beings. It's not fun. There's always it's a long drawn out process. There's nastiness. There's who gets the house. What about the kids? What about the money? Blah blah blah. And then you have to deal with them the rest of your damn life. So if you can just kill them and nobody catches on, you get the house. You don't have to deal with the kid issue, especially if you have small ones. You don't have to pay child support. Especially if they're pregnant, you get rid of them. Then you don't have any child support. And you get the insurance money. You can, and you get your new girlfriend. You don't have to worry about that. And it's easier for some people. They think as long as they can get away with it, they think it's easier. So that's why they do it. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good idea. Stay away for a week and see if you feel better. But people feel guilty. This is where people suffer from the most. They feel guilty from questioning somebody else's behavior. He says, I love you, honey. I love you. I would never do that to you. And now you're questioning him. Of course, he's cheating on you, and you've known that. So at what point, maybe you say he's not safe to be around at some point. Now, it doesn't mean a guy could be a porn addict. It could be cheating on you, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to kill you. That's also true. People have other issues and don't kill. But if you've gotten to the point where you don't trust him to that point, you get the hell out of there. Don't go there. Don't stay with him and get your health back. You might have found another way to kill her if she goes back. But yeah, I'd like to see him take that drink. I would say, no, you drink first. I say I would be curious what his response on that one would have been. That would have been fun. All right. So now I want to go on to, this is the kind of my little rapper segment here. We have this guy. His name is this trial just ended, and this guy's name. Well, I can't. He's got a real name, but it's like xxXTentacian. It's a weird name. Anyway, this is one of his music videos, super popular. I actually don't mind his videos. I don't overly love them, but I don't mind them either. Some of them are sort of okay to me. Not my favorite stuff, but not awful. Like some I do like rap and I do like hip hop. But some of the stuff is really god awful, and some of the stuff is very good. His is, I think, medium, but he's a very super popular. But unfortunately for this poor guy, he just got shot to death in Florida. Let me read you what happened in the trial. What's interesting about the trial is I want to point out two things: why he got shot to death, and that the guys who got convicted. Let's see. All right, no, that's not what I wanted. Hold on a second. Is this the one? Okay. And this article says a normal look at us, the murder trial. And was a rising 20-year-old star. And he was definitely a rising star. And he, unfortunately, got all the tats on the face and all the stuff people do and just make themselves much less attractive, but it's cool to certain groups of people. So what happened was, he was this emerging rap star. He was making money. And some of this stuff has millions and millions of views. I mean, almost 1 billion views. So he was making money. He goes one day, he gets in his car, and he takes $50,000 in cash to this motorcycle shop where I guess he was intending to buy himself a motorcycle. I think he went with his stepfather or something like that, who happened to be a Jamaican dude. So, because when he spoke definitely was Jamaican. And so he's helping, I guess, the stepdad or whoever he was helping him look for a bike. Okay. But while they're in the shop, there's these other guys in the shop too. And then he goes out of the shop. I guess he didn't buy the motorcycle. So he's back going out of the shop with $50,000 in cash in a bag. And the guys that were in the shop essentially then tried to get the bag away from him. The other side, see the car, the door up there in the air. The other guy, this is when they started shooting him, managed to escape out the side. So he was a witness. And then one of the guys shot him. And then there's it looked like 4 guys originally, but 3 guys got convicted. So what they did was they came in and they blocked his vehicle from leaving. This SUV blocked the BMW. And 2 masked gunmen emerged and confronted him at his driver's side, and one of them shot him. The suspects then grabbed a Louis Vuitton bag containing $50,000 in cash. The singer had just withdrawn from the bank. They got into the SUV and sped away. Now, he was a platinum-selling rising star who tackled issues including prejudice and depression in his songs. He also drew criticism over bad behavior, multiple arrests, including charges he severely beat and abused his girlfriend. But they all say he was trying to get them to act together, as they always said. But what was fascinating about this is I love it when you see the guys in court. Okay, look at these guys in court. Dang, that looks like a nice young man. I mean, this is the young man I'd be happy to have my granddaughter go out with when she's old enough. I mean, look, handsome and nice suit and all that. It's a really good suit. And then we have this nice young man. It looks like a college student. Looks like a college student, goes right to the college, right down the road from me. Looks like a nice young man. Except, not so nice. Not so nice. So they did get convicted, by the way. And supposedly they found Boatwright, that's the main guy, fingerprints found on the driver's door. And he was also, the other guy, Williams, was identified by the motorsports clerk, the motorcycle clerk, said it was a regular customer, but didn't know they were planning a robbery. Then later on, they went online and they're holding up $100 bills, as they never do that after you commit a robbery. So anyway, so they all got convicted, and the defense said, well, there was no proof they were there, except it was kind of overwhelming proof they were there, like video camera. But the thing I want to address is, how does this kind of stuff happen? And one of the problems is this, that once you become well known, depending on where you live, if you're running around and check out that car, I'm going to say that's a pretty damn expensive vehicle. Woo! That is one big expensive vehicle. Somebody had to know. I've been watching him. I don't know whether he hung out with people and talked too much and told them about stuff, but you got regular people maybe you grew up with. Okay. And sometimes, a lot of times, when rappers, boxers, they like to hang in the hood they grew up in. That's just what people do. That's my town. That's my people and all that. And that's cool. And then there's some that will never go back, probably because it's safer not to. Not because there's mostly not good people there, but that some of the people you grew up with aren't doing so well. And they're very jealous. They're jealous of your success. And they want to hang with you. But on the other hand, they're watching you. And they think they can get something from you some way. They might take advantage of you or kill you. And here we have a guy. Obviously, these guys knew where he was going. They were following him. And he's picking up $50,000 in cash out of the bank. Why? Why are you paying in cash? Why aren't you just paying like everybody else does? Why are you paying in cash? And I don't know, because in this case, he should have been making a crap load of money. So it makes no sense that he needs to get cash. It's not like a drug dealer who says, I can't use my credit card here. I mean, this is his own money, I would assume, from his music career. Why doesn't he just do what everybody else does? Write a check, get a bank check, whatever. And he wasn't even buying a motorcycle that day. Why are you carrying $50,000 worth of cash around with you? That's kind of shit. That's kind of just weird too. But you can't be driving around in a vehicle like that, carrying $50,000 in cash, and somehow people who, I don't quite know whether he's in the neighborhood that he grew up in or whatever, but whatever, people know what's going on. And if you're acting badly, you have a lot of bad behaviors, you are obviously hanging around bad people yourself. And one day, when they have an opportunity like that, they're not going to give it up. So, anybody who's doing well in a certain business, they have to make sure that they themselves have upstanding behavior and don't put themselves in those situations. But it's sad, a lot of times, people, they still hang out there. And funny thing about this case is that one of the things people are saying is that they don't think it was just these three guys. They think it was Drake, another rapper, had made some comments. Oh yeah, Drake was behind the kill. That's like he hired these guys to kill him. Probably not. And then they mentioned this guy too. No, that's not. I'm sorry. This guy. Okay, this guy. Let me tell you who this guy is. This is 6ix9ine. He's another rapper who I think his stuff is garbage, absolute garbage. I personally think he's a free. He's super, super popular. Like 5 years ago, he's got these billion seller, and I thought his stuff. I think everything he does is ghastly, gross, and disgusting. I think no teenager should listen to it. He just repulses me. 100% repulses me. But anyway, he got beat up. So recently he got beat up because apparently he has a lot of bad behavior, and he did some criminal stuff, and he ratted somebody out. And so apparently he went into the sauna, and there's bathroom in the sauna. He got beat up by somebody. So somebody are saying, oh, he lives in the same area as the other rapper. So, oh, he had something to do with the other rapper. The death of the other guy. He just got beat up. He didn't get beat up that badly, in my opinion. But this kind of made me laugh. They finally stomping out the rat because he did rat somebody out. So, but this is what my basic point is. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And if you have an opportunity at your life, you're turning your life around to no longer live by the sword, then you got to get away from the people who still do. And what you put out to the public, out to the community, out to children, if you haven't stepped up your act to put out something decent and not have the N-word, not have guns, not have drugs, not have women butt showing everywhere and talk about sex acts constantly. If you're still doing all that, I got no respect for you. If you have good rap, I'm down with that. I like that. I like something good. And especially once you're getting famous, do something decent. And if you don't, maybe that's who you're about. Maybe that's why you're getting killed. And the rappers have the highest rate of being murdered of all the musicians. And, it can't just be because of what? Because I sing rap? Because they're rappers? So what would be the common denominator? And my statement is they still live by the sword. And that's the problem. And that's why they die. Step up your act, guys. I like your music. Some of you are super talented, but man, step up your act to something decent. And there are good artists out there. So the good rappers out there, the ones I consider good rappers and good artists, keep it up, but stop being slime bags and scumbags. Please stop that. It gets you killed. And sometimes I'm not that sad to see you go because I don't like what you put out. But I'm not even gonna put that comment up, but I might sort of agree with it. Let's see. That's also a good point. No, Grandma Tat says, reality stars found out how smart it was to flash their jewels on social media where it can be tracked. Yeah, we all know you might have money. Clearly you're a wealthy person. You might have money, but if you don't have your bodyguards with you and you don't stay at places where you have safety, you just can't go rolling through certain neighborhoods and set yourself up or stay places where there's not good security. If you're that darn wealthy and you have that much money with you, you can't do it. People say, well, it's not fair that they lose their privacy. Guess what? Get out of the kitchen. I've lost privacy being on television, and I know that. But I also, I try to keep my, I'm not that famous. But I also, I'm careful about what I do and where I go and just for the sake of it. And I'm not even that kind of famous, but I do put myself out there. But if I come on here and I just do stuff that really makes somebody want to come and rob me, that's kind of foolish. And I don't have $1 million home with guards outside. So, you got to be a little more careful. That's true. Anthony says 50,000 could tempt a non-criminal. It could indeed. Who, got that kind of money. It's just like, ooh, just can't resist, That's a lot of money. I don't know how they knew he had the money. I find that interesting. I don't know who did those rainbow teeth. Oh my God, that's hideous. It's just hideous. Oh, God, it creeps me out. It really does. And it's not that it's not that they don't have talent. They do have talent. It's just the way they use it. I told my granddaughter that today. I said, the old thing where you can use something for good or you can use something for evil. You got talent as a rapper. You got musical talent and writing talent. My God, do something good. You can still be edgy, but you don't have to be disgusting and you don't have to be promoting crime. If you promote crime, I'm done with you. Just 100% done with you. Don't have anything nice to say. Don't have anything nice to say. All right. But that was a couple interesting little stories that had come out. Let's see. Speaking of living by the sword and maybe dying by it, this is an interesting little case. This fellow, this guy disappeared. Let's see if I can find. Oh, here we are. 2 roommates. He and his roommate disappeared. His name is Ira Lee Briscoe, and his roommate was Lyman Little. Now, what's interesting about him, because he's starting to do stuff like that on his hands, which I'm not sure what the heck that even means. I tried to look it up to see if it had something meaning. But anyway, his mom is out there looking for him. She's pleasing for closure in her son's case. And she's like, look, I admit, and this is what I think is interesting. It pointed out that, he has a son, he likes to fish, he's all these good things. But then mom says something interesting. Mom says that he told her, the family admitted, which I appreciate the family being open, Briscoe had gotten involved with drugs over the years and possibly would have seen the cartels as a lucrative opportunity. Now, mind you, he's in Missouri, so some people say, how much of the cartel is in Missouri, and which cartel? And I'm not really sure about the Missouri how much cartels made, but I mean, cartels they're already to the East Coast, they're to the West Coast, and they're to Canada. So don't tell me the cartel isn't active here in the U.S. They are. And that's because we're stupid idiots in this country, and we are allowing the cartel to run rampant. But he told his mom, you don't have to worry about me no more, Mom. I got it. I'm in with the cartels. Now he's missing. They've never been found. He and his roommate have never been found. I think they've been gone for what? At this point, this was written 3 years ago. They went missing in, I can't see when this was written, 2020. So he's been gone is December of 2020. So yeah, he's been missing a while. They haven't found them. They haven't found their bodies. There's no communications. Gone. Again, live by the sword, die by the sword. The concept that if you want to sell some drugs, that getting in with the cartel is a bright idea. Not a bright idea. Both guys are dead, probably. And I don't know what happened to them. And once I saw the cartel thing and he's told his mom that, I'm like, oh, Lord, made his choice. You cross the line into a massively criminal life. And here's one thing. I'm just going to point this out as my soapbox thing. Oh, people say, well, he's a drug dealer. He just, he's trying to make some money and he just, blah, blah, blah. You're killing people because that stuff you sell kills people. If you're a drug dealer, you are a murderer. And if you don't kill the person with the drugs you're giving them, you may be giving them gateway drugs that would encourage other drug use in the future. If you're giving them to children, teenagers, and it doesn't matter who you're giving them to because they end up with children and teenagers. And so if you deal drugs, you're a murderer. And I don't have a lot of sympathy. Stop dealing drugs. Stop it. And so if you go down dealing drugs, oh well, I don't have tremendous amount of sympathy. I really don't. I have a real hatred of drug dealing, as you can see, because I know people have died of drug overdoses. And, my computer guy, he ended up, people found him in the room he had rented with a needle in his arm, sitting at the computer. He used to fix my computers. He's 30 years old or whatever he was. He had some emotional issues and some depression issues, but my God, now he's dead. He doesn't have any issues anymore. I also have nobody to fix my computers anymore, but just really sad. Super, super sad. Thank you for saying that. This is absolutely true. I live in Southern California. It's killing our children every day. It absolutely is. Yep. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. The fact he thought getting in with the cartel was going to make his life easier. Does he not watch movies? I mean, they don't end up, people get up with the cartel. And you don't know what you're doing. You didn't grow up with the cartel. You don't know how it works. And you got a son? Sorry, dude. No respect. Sorry, Mom. I don't know what happened to your son, but if he's dealing drugs, done with that. All right. Let's see. I want to comment on a couple of things here. Let's see. Couple more that I thought were interesting. Somebody asked me to do this, so I want to be sure I do this. This is a murder a long time ago of a little girl. And what's interesting about this is, let me see if I can find where it is. Hold on. Hold on one second. Nah. Oh, here it is. No. Oh, no. Before I go to that, sorry, I have to go back to. I just want to say this. Remember the guy? I really wanted to start out the show. Remember the guy who was a businessman, and he was down in and he was a Georgia businessman. He was he went to some business meeting out of town, and he went to a bar, had a drink, and then he left and wasn't found again. And for a while, he went missing, and then his body was found wrapped in plastic and a rug, right? And it's this guy. Let's see if I can find his picture here. Where are you? Okay. This guy here. This guy's name is Millard. His name was Nathan Millard. And it's really, it's always sad when you see this guy. He's a nice guy. Here he is. He's looking happy. He's got a wife, he's got kids. So anyway, when this was one of the things where they sort of said no foul play, and it kind of like, but his body was wrapped in plastic, wrapped in a rug, and then chucked someplace. He obviously didn't do that to himself. So there's foul play. But there is one thing that means there's one thing that happens that is not homicide, although it's foul play. And this is not uncommon. It's called a drug overdose, where somebody gives you the drugs and you croak, and then they freak and they got to get rid of your body because it's usually in their house or wherever they are, and they got to do something with you. And they dump you, hide you, and not because they killed you. Well, look, they gave you the drugs that killed you. So in my opinion, you're the murderer. Okay. So I'll say that to put that straight. They didn't intend the murder, but they did murder. With giving somebody drugs that kills them, that's murder, in my opinion, especially when they die right in front of you. You're responsible. So I say that's foul play. So anyway, they did arrest a man accused of disposing of Georgia husband's and father's body. And this is what happened. A 42-year-old man. So this is what supposedly, and they actually know what happened because of all the cameras, which is fascinating. So on the night of the disappearance, instead of going back to his hotel, Millard sought out drugs, connected with Perkins in the early hours of Thursday, February 23rd, and died of an overdose. Now you say, how do they know this? According to the document, Millard walked about a mile east to Greyhound Station in Baton Rouge. First of all, it's nighttime. You don't go to the Greyhound Station for any reason, then you really need to get on a damn bus, unless you're looking for drugs. Several people described to police Millard's time at the station, including an employee who said he offered to call a ride for the 42-year-old father of two teenage sons, two teenage stepsons, and a young daughter. He's got 5 kids to take care of. After several attempts and pleas by the bus station employee to offer Nathan Millard help and a ride back to his hotel, he told the employee of the bus station that he was looking for something to make him feel better. Oh. Jesus. Drugs are a terrible, terrible thing. And getting involved with drugs is a terrible thing. Just never, ever frickin' do it. Really. The document describes him of leaving the station on foot. An individual who was with Millard at the time at the station told detectives he then walked back a quarter mile to an area under the interstate and introduced Millard to 2 more people who eventually connected him with Perkins, known as a drug dealer in the area. So now he's underneath a damn overpass in the night, getting drugs from an unknown person. Then they state that Perkins and Millard headed to the South Baton Rouge area known as the Bottoms, which doesn't sound like a good place. Surveillance video, according to the affidavit, shows them arriving at Circle K gas station about 2.5 miles south of the Greyhound station area, a little after 4 a.m. The last time he was seen alive was approximately 4:17 hours to 4:24 hours on a security camera at the convenience store. Millard had about 6. So then he arrived at a house about a mile away. And that's where he accidentally overdosed. And it's unclear exactly what happened. Perkins is then alleged to have wrapped him in the rug. At around 11 a.m., the affidavit states a man identified as Perkins used his Millard's credit card at a gas station. I guess he had to get gas to go dump his body someplace. Oh, my God. So the affidavit states several people told detectives they smelled, observed, or told of the deceased body of Nathan Millard in the trunk of the car Perkins was driving around. until the body was dumped and disposed of. And then they found his body, and now they know what happened. I mean, this is fascinating because, oh, by the way, they also searched the residence of Perkins, and they found the plastic sheeting that was around his body. So he got 4 charges: unlawful disposal of remains, obstruction of justice, simple criminal damage to property, and failure to seek assistance. But, this is what's appalling to me. Perkins gave him those drugs that killed him. Where is it? Where is the homicide? He's not going to get homicide. He's just going to get unlawful disposal of remains. That's it. I'm going to say he's got a record really, really long. But dude, what in the world would make you go to a Greyhound station, go meet somebody underneath an overpass, go to this guy's house to get drugs? 42 years old, you got yourself killed. You've humiliated your family. You left your children. I don't know. That just blows me away. Just go back to your hotel room and drink double NyQuil. You can go to sleep. I just don't get it. Just appalling. That is absolutely appalling. Yeah, he can't prove he gave him the drugs. And that's how they keep getting away with stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, he can't prove it. That, obviously he did. He sold him the drugs. But, yeah. Yeah, bizarre. You're trying to get killed? Yeah, of all the things, oh my God, of all the things to do, to put yourself at that kind of a level of risk. Now, I don't know. Maybe he just has a severe drug addiction nobody knows about, because who the hell else would do all this nonsense? I mean, you've gone to a bar, you can drink a lot, just drink a lot and go home to bed. Why do you need it to run around town trying to get something better? But that's how you get killed. And what can I say? Yeah. So just an unbelievable one. Okay. Well, let's see. I wanted to go to the story about the girl. But I want to do this one first, just for a little light humor, because, I like light humor. I do mention this too. During the Tiffany Hartley show that I did, the question somebody asked me was that they didn't think there was a drug run because they're in these ski-doo jet skis, and there's no real good room in there. But I just read this whole thing on jet skis using to smuggle cocaine, and apparently all you need is a backpack. And coke. We're not talking. If you're talking about marijuana, you're correct. You need a lot more space. But cocaine is small. You can get that in there. In a backpack, you can carry a duffel bag. Those things can be put easily tied onto a jet ski or carried on your back. So we don't have any proof or video of the Hartleys. We don't know whether they brought with them a bag of some sort. So just because they were on jet ski doesn't mean they couldn't have been doing a drug deal. Not saying they were, but just saying that's one of the things that the Mexican side said, that a lot of times people do use jet skis to run these deals. So, because they look like they're out just having a good time. It's just extra, just recreation. It's not the same as therefore you're not suspected. And so that is sometimes exactly what they use. I want to talk, I'm going to talk about this one sort of fun one, just because this is something that bugs me too. This father is on an airplane. He gets tased on the airplane because he won't give up his seat. I mean, because he wouldn't give up the seat. Now, this was on, what was he on? He was on Jetstar flight from Perth, Australia to his hometown, Melbourne. I say that right. 30-year-old man had allegedly agreed with another passenger to switch seats so that the father could sit with his wife and 1-year-old child. Prior to takeoff, the cabin crew asked him to move back to his original seat. He refused. They asked him again to do it. He refused. And they saying, now you're not complying with airline instructions. And they tased him because he would not get out of that damn seat. Now, there's a whole issue these days about people refusing to move over because somebody says, I want to sit with my girlfriend. I want to sit with my wife. My family wants to sit together. You want that? Buy the damn seat. You can choose the airline and you can choose your seat. If you're going on an airline that you can't pick seats ahead of time, don't take that airline. If it's that important that you all be together during that flight, take a flight where you can choose your seats. Will you have to pay more? Oh, yes, you will. Why? Because you want to choose your seats. And if you're going to pick certain seats, have to get, whatever in a row, husband, wife, and child, then that's the way it is. Now, in this particular case, he's going from Perth to Melbourne. It's like what? I don't know how far, 4 hours, 5 hours. You can't sit in a different seat for 4 to 5 hours? Excuse me, what the heck? Your wife sits with the child for a while. You get up and you exchange seats. You sit where your wife sat. What's the big freaking deal? Oh, you're getting on a flight and you're going to be on a 6-hour flight, but you don't get to sit with your girlfriend? Too damn bad. If you don't want to pay for the seat to sit next to her, just don't sit. You can both, for God's sakes, watch a couple movies. You'll be together when you get off the plane. What is this sudden, I got to sit next to the person I want to sit next to, even if I don't want to pay for the seat? I just think these people think they're entitled to whatever they want, whenever they want. And it disgusts me because this is going on all the airlines. And I'm like, if I pay for my damn seat, I'm sitting in my damn seat. If I choose a window seat, it's because I want to sit next to the window. If I want an aisle seat, I want to sit next to the aisle. And would I exchange if the exchange was no big deal? Sure. But don't tell me I've got to exchange. I don't have to do that. If you want what you want, pay for it. Otherwise, suck it up. It's a flight. It's a flight. You're going to survive it. It's a few hours, and or whatever. You have to desperately sit next to somebody for a few hours. I mean, what? Don't you ever go to work and be away for 8 hours? Have you ever not gone someplace without that other person glued to your damn side? So you're sitting on a plane and you read a book and you watch a movie. So what? That's just one of my pet peeves on this. This has been a new thing. It's just going crazy. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people? I mean, it drives me nuts. Cheap seats, tough luck. Yeah, exactly. Linda says, Pat, this is why I'm a fan of you forever. You say exactly what I'm thinking, but more eloquently. Wow, that was eloquent. You have a low standard, a low bar for eloquence. Sarah says, any chance to get away from my family, I'm for that. Loretta, I want to be a ballerina. I want what I want. Well, if you try out for a ballerina and they don't take you, you should sue them. You definitely should, even if you can't dance at all. That's crazy. Oh my God. Oh Lord. It's some of this stuff is so nuts. Yes. And if you were my husband, the kids don't vomit when it's your turn to sit. You were vomiting. Oh, that's always fun. Oh, never. I'm not that fond of flying. I only fly because I have to, not because I enjoy it. Especially because I never have been in first class. It so pisses me off. I like the TV people would fly me in someplace. I go, I'm always in coach. And I'm like, you're torturing me, And if you ask for first class, you just don't get it. So the only person ever got first class is my son. He was flying from Mexico I bought him a ticket from Mexico to Hawaii. And he was like, he calls me from Hawaii and he goes, Ma, thank you so much. First class was great. It was so comfortable and I got free drinks and I said, son, you got bumped up. I love you, but I don't love you that much. Yeah, hell no. If anybody's going to go first class ever, it would be me. And it still hasn't happened in my life. It so sucks. Oh my goodness. Yeah, buy yourself some first class seats. Yeah, I tell you. One time I took a cheap flight and I was waiting for the guy to get on holding his chickens. Well, that is interesting. I've had that on some interesting what they call chicken buses, and certain countries, and definitely people sit with chickens, and you have all kinds of animals on there, and you sit with, and they just hand you their kid, and you have their kid in your lap. So I love taking trains everywhere in the world. I like taking the chicken buses. I'm all for all kinds of weird stuff happening, but just the people coming in and deciding that you should give up your seat because they think they should be able to sit there is just ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Yeah. Yeah. We should have a big, some kind of, what's the word for it? Put all the things in there. Well, what is that? Come on, somebody give me the word. I never do them. That's why I never think of them. What is that called? Somebody give me a word. Put all, you take a thing and you put your names in and you draw it. What's that called? Not a pool. What's the other word for it? Dang it. I used to know that when I was involved in more, things with my kids and stuff, and they always had these things. What is it? No, nobody's coming up with it so far. I can't come up with it. Train travel is my favorite. I love it, but not in this country. No, is it not a lottery? What is it? It's not a lottery. What's it called? Right. Oh, thank you, Scarlett. There we go. It's the raffle. Raffle. That's the one I was trying to think of. Thank you. No, it's not bingo. It's raffle. It's a raffle. Yeah, it's where you all put your names in and then pick one, and that's the one who gets the deal. Yeah. Yes, I love train travel, but not in the U.S. because I can't lay down, and to get an actual room where you can lay down here, it's outrageous sum of money. In India, you pay $10 extra and you get to lay down in a nice bed. It's awesome, and it's much more fun. Much more fun. A great time, and the food is fantastic. People share food, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's okay. Let me get to the one I was supposed to get to. I just had a little segue there. This will be my last one. I want to talk about her because I was asked to look at this one. And the thing I think is interesting about that more is trying to find the original article here on this I was looking at. Okay, hold on a second. I've got so many things open. That's what happens. Okay, here we go. This happened ages ago. This is Katie Collman, 10-year-old girl who just walked to the store to get something for the family, and then she was murdered. That's pretty horrifying. Oh, come on. Don't do that to me. Oh, for God's sake. This is where you touch something and the page, you touch something to open it up and then the freaking page flips. So now I'll see if I can get it back. I have to plug it back in here and see which one it is. Okay. Great. This guy he got life. So anyway, let me tell you about him. A man who pleaded guilty to the killing of 10-year-old Crothersville girl will spend the rest of his life in prison. This is 2006. 39-year-old Anthony Stockelman was found guilty of without the possibility of parole to life in prison. Now, he got life in prison because he was willing to confess to the crime. He said he didn't do it, but then he confessed to it and said, well, I had a mental problem. So if I confess to it, I don't want death penalty. I want life. Which is this is one of the interesting things I want to point out. These days, you're better off going for the death penalty, because if you go for the death penalty, at least the death penalty people, try to get you out of prison. The Innocence Project will try to get you out. You get life, they sort of ignore you because it's not a death penalty issue. And since hardly anybody gets put to death these days, they're on death row for 30 years. You might do better on death row. But he pleaded guilty in exchange for dropping the death penalty. They say the former factory worker abducted, molested, and killed the fourth grader. She was missing for 5 days before her body was found in 2005 in a creek, and she had her hands tied. It was a really sad case. Now, he claims now he didn't do it. There was originally another guy who they thought did it, and this was like a next door neighbor who ran a drug house, and he said she saw me do something. She saw the drug transaction, so I killed her, and it turned out to be a false confession. How do they believe that? Well, there was at the scene where their body was found, there was a cigarette, and the cigarette DNA matched the DNA on her body, and that belonged to Stockelman. All right. He was also seen. He had a white van, and a white van was seen. Okay. But I want to read you. So he was found guilty because he said he was in the area. He had the white van she was seen in, and his DNA was on the cigarette and on her body. Okay. I'm going to say pretty good, huh? He claims that's not true. Now, I just want to read you. This is why I decided I would do this. Because years have passed, and he has his website. It's called freedomfortonyblogspot.com. And when you hear him, you start questioning. Is he guilty or isn't he? I want to ask you what you think. Thank you for visiting my site. My name is Tony Stockelman. I am currently serving a life sentence for a crime I did not commit. I hope you will allow me to tell you my story. On January 25th, 2005, I was at my mother's house on Covernor Street in Crothersville, Indiana, moving some furniture for her to a new residence. That afternoon, a few blocks from where my mother lived, a young girl named Katie Collman left her home to run an errand for her mother. She never returned and was found 5 days later in a creek near Seymour, Indiana. Local residents became concerned about Katie and began searching all over Jackson County for the young girl. Meanwhile, I loaded up my pickup truck full of my mother's belongings and went home to my rural Jackson County home to unload this truck and get a little bit of sleep before reporting to my job, my third shift job at Vallejo, Sylvania. 2 days after Katie's disappearance, an eyewitness came forward, claimed they saw Katie riding in a white Ford F-150 on the day she was reported missing. The eyewitness described the man as a tall, very skinny white male, 18 to 20 years old, dark hair and fair complexion. The media put out a sketch. That evening, an Amber Alert was issued, and Indiana State Trooper came to my residence because I had run a DMV check for white Ford F-150 trucks, and I owned such a vehicle. In fact, this truck was the one I was using to help my mother move. The police questioned me about my activities that day, the day that Collman disappeared. I was honest in answering the questions and admitted to being in the area she was last seen the evening she'd gone missing. There were no eyewitnesses to my being there, but I gave the police the information because I had nothing to hide. They asked permission to search my vehicle without a warrant, and I obliged them. I also went to the state police post that evening and voluntarily submitted to a polygraph exam. At the conclusion of this exam, I was told nothing further would be needed, and there was no reason to hold me for further questioning. I had passed the exam. I soon forgot about the incident until April 2005. At that time, they came to my residence and asked me for a DNA sample. Again, having nothing to hide, I willingly submitted my DNA. Now, imagine my surprise when 2 days later, I was arrested on charges of molesting Collman near the time of her death. Prosecutors claimed that my DNA matched DNA found on the cigarette butt as well as on the girl's body. At the time of my arrest, another man was in custody for Collman's murder, Charles Chucky Hickman. Hickman claimed that Collman saw drug activity in a local apartment complex and abducted the girls in hoping of scaring her into silence. He claimed that he drove her to the lake in a white Ford F-150, which was borrowed from his friend Timothy O'Sullivan. Timothy O'Sullivan had been charged with false informing on the case, along with an unnamed 17-year-old male. Police claimed they had thoroughly investigated and could find no relationship between Hickman and myself. Also, 1 week prior to my arrest, the Jackson County prosecutor wrote a letter to the editor of the paper explaining why I was reluctant to seek the death penalty against Hickman. One reason was a lack of mitigating circumstances, child molesting. 3 weeks later, he was questioned by the media. He said he was there, but he didn't commit the crime himself. And when asked by reporters who he thought killed Katie, Hickman replied, Jeff Tatlock raped that girl. Hickman's mother previously stated she believed her son gave a false confession out of fear. She said that he was afraid of a man who had blown up his house in 2004 while cooking methamphetamine. That man was Jeffrey Tatlock. 6 weeks later, Hickman's story was abruptly discharged, and I was charged with Collman's murder and confinement along with her molestation. So he says, Hickman gave credible testimony about the drug activity and all that, and then he awaited trial, and he had faith in the system, but he ended up getting convicted. He accepted the plea agreement because they told him he's going to get the death penalty if he doesn't accept it. And so he freaked out and accepted it. All right. It says here, even my wife, Tabitha, she stood by me, even though there was DNA evidence, supposedly, that they said they had, but she still believed that I didn't do it. And so on and so forth. He says, now, what happened to the DNA evidence? How can a man be sentenced to life without parole without ever being able to see the evidence against him? At this point, I'm not sure if the DNA is non-existent, has been tampered with, or if the cigarette butt may have been taken from my truck when it was searched. I am not guilty of this crime, and I welcome retesting of the DNA to prove my innocence. Thank you for allowing me to share my side of the story. Now, what do you think? Do you think he's innocent, or do you think he's guilty based on that? Bet he's sorry he talked to the police. Okay, I just want to point out here, by the way, This is his rendition. It could 100% be telling the truth, but I don't know if he is or he's not. Now, Sarah says guilty. Okay, so the question about the guilty part, why do you think he's guilty? Sarah definitely says, I'm not buying it. Why do you think he's guilty? Self-report. You mean the website that's he's trying to get help to get another DNA test and hopefully be exonerated? Oh, that's a good point. Katie says, dude is guilty as hell. I love how everyone thinks that police officers plant things. This is a go-to by defense teams and also by guilty people who will say, yeah, this stuff was planted. The drug dealer was probably easier to plant stuff on. So either the police, Larry, is that police planted evidence or mishandled it, or he did it. Yeah, I mean, this is one of these things, though. You see, when years have passed, somebody said, look at this crime pack. What can you tell me? Did the guy do it or didn't he do it? Well, got two suspects. One did confess, and then he recanted on the confession, saying that, this other guy killed her. They were trying to stop her from ratting out their drug operation, which clearly did exist, by the way. So he's a scumbag who lived nearby. Now, I don't know what happened. I don't know the details of how he got arrested, what happened in the interrogation and all that, but they did think he did it. And then they came up with the other guy, and now he did it. Oh yeah. Okay, I was going to show you he got it good in prison too. This is true. Let me show you a picture. So I think some cousin of the girl, he got arrested, and he ended up in the prison with a guy, and he was pissed. So he got a hold of this character, and this is what he did to him. See on the right, he put Katie's revenge. He tattooed that into the guy's head. Managed to somehow hold him down and force him into allowing him, or whatever he did, to get this on his head. By the way, he got it removed for free, by the way, which is unfortunate. But I thought it was kind of funny that you don't want to be in prison with a relative, because maybe if you were on death row, you'd be safer, but you were in general population. Somebody else came in who was related, and you nailed them with a tattoo across the forehead. Kind of nice little piece of justice there. I kind of like it. Yeah, that kind of that was kind of amusing. Yeah, that's poetic justice. I give him that. Got a free tattoo. Yep. Yeah. Oh, this is a good point. It's taken him years to work on his story. And this is sometimes what happens to people when they look back, when the Innocence Project rolls through 20 years later, and the guy's telling a story. He has literally worked on it for years. He has figured out, and then sometimes the defense attorneys help you come up with a really good story and tell you how to say the story, so that you can say, well, I like to help the police. I didn't think anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, so I was perfectly willing to say something. We don't know that that's actually why he did that, but he's learned to say that, so he's worked on his story over all these years, probably with the help of the defense. And so now he sounds really good. So it's sometimes very frustrating to me that I wish you could hear what happened way back then, because if you heard back then what they said and what you were there for the original, I don't have the original trial document here, but if I went back and could read through the entire trial or see it, see the police reports, I would see what this guy was really like at the time. But yeah, years later, they come across much, much better because they've learned. Just like those guys in court that we saw in the nice suit and everything. They weren't wearing a nice suit when they shot that guy down there in Florida. But once they get to court, they look so clean cut. You're like, I can't see that guy as a killer. And so our minds get warped by what is presented to us over time, and with assistance from people who know how to get people free from prison, who represent them and all of this stuff. So we often get manipulated by people after the fact. So it's just something worthwhile understanding with. This is true. Reminds me of Casey Anthony's story that she came up with, even though she unfortunately wasn't incarcerated while making it up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you give enough time, you get a better story. That's the way it works. Yeah. She was only 10 and he raped and killed her. And that's not liked in prison. Well, he survived in prison till the cousin showed up, and took it and made his point. Let's put it that way. But I just wanted to bring that was what I got out of that story, which just when you read it, that's what I just tell people. You got to be really careful when you're analyzing things, not to fall for something that is being analyzed years later with a rehabilitated person. Or they want you to believe that. So anyway, I think that's it for tonight. It's been 2 hours, 9 o'clock. So anyway, by the way, I do have everything fixed for the, eventually doing the thing with Joe. Trying to fix one more item. I also have a problem with my phone. He couldn't hear me well. So I went to Verizon today to fix that so that I will we'll be able to do our good show on the boxing deaths. But coming up this weekend will be the Boston Strangler. I have watched the new Hulu movie, which I think sucks so badly. I mean, it took me forever to get through the movie because I was so bored. I was so frustrated through most of it. I just hated every living moment of that movie. Yeah. I also watched the 1968 version with Henry Fonda, isn't it? Who is it? I forgot who's in it now. The 1968 version, which was much, much better, much more interesting. It was easy to watch. It had some really funny and amusing things, and it had a lot of things right. A lot of things more right than the one that was just done. The ending was really bad, and so I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about those two movies, and I'm going to be studying the rest of the week. The Boston Strangler, and if I think Albert DeSalvo was guilty of all of the crimes or one of the crimes or none of the crimes. It's funny, I did a show once on this and I went to see what I thought, but unfortunately the show seems to have vanished. And I was like, darn it all. I want to know what I thought 10 years ago, but I'm starting over again. I'm analyzing all the details. So it will be the Boston Strangler this weekend. So Tony Curtis, thank you very much. It was Tony Curtis. He was the one who played Albert DeSalvo in the movie. Really, really nicely. I mean, most of the movie was really quite well done, although Benny said he saw it when he was a child, and somebody else said they saw it when they were a child. I'm like, what the heck are you doing watching it? I mean, it was risque. I mean, there were breasts shown and there were nipples shown. I mean, I was really shocked that a child would even watch that movie. It wasn't gory or anything. They did it very well. So they managed to show, the women were being killed, but they did it in an interesting way. I thought the whole show was really great until the last bit of it, and then I thought they botched it. But I will talk about the exact reason why I think they botched it. So anyway, where is it streaming? It's I saw that movie on, I heard, which I paid for it on Amazon Prime. It's like $2.99. I paid for it there, and I think somebody said it's also on Hulu, where the new movie is streaming on Hulu, and the one with Keira Knightley and the old movie is streaming. They said was streaming on Hulu, which I wish I knew. So I would have watched it over there since I just I got a free month on Hulu because I don't like Hulu, but I got it just so I could see the new, the new Strangler movie. But I didn't realize it was over there if it is, but those are the two places I would check if I were you, that you might be able to see it. So glad to have all of you here tonight. It's been great as usual. And yeah, so I'm going to see you. I don't think, I think, unless we can work it out, maybe we'll do the Joe thing on Friday, but maybe we'll do it next week, depending on his schedule. And then this weekend, the Boston Strangler. So I'll see you guys soon. And if you're new again to the channel and you're still rolling around here, please do like and subscribe and join Patreon if you want to be in the chat room with all the great people that are here. And I will see you next time. Bye.